All right, so let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that history is struggling because people are lazy. And let's stop pretending that it's because the internet has ruined attention spans. Let's also stop pretending that TikTok is killing culture or that Gen Z doesn't care about the past. Because the truth is this: the problem isn't that people don't care about history. The problem is that you think they should, just because it's history. And that's the fatal assumption. History sells itself. It's the belief that your job is to preserve, to archive, to organize, and that somehow magically people will show up and care just because it's important. You think that significance equals attention. It doesn't. Importance does not equal relevance. Meaning does not equal momentum. And historical value does not equal visibility. That assumption that history sells itself is the number one reason why most exhibits go unseen, programs underperform, and posts fall flat. And if you don't replace that assumption with something better, you're going to keep working hard, keep hitting walls, and keep wondering why your mission feels invisible. So now let me hit you with some reality. If you believe history sells itself, here's what you'll do. You'll keep writing dry exhibit labels, thinking that facts will speak. You'll keep creating social media posts that list dates and names and titles. You'll keep organizing your site, your tours, your marketing around accuracy and not resonance. You'll assume that the job is to inform and that people are just out there waiting to be educated. But here's what actually happens. Your posts, they get ignored. Your events get low turnout. Your site remains invisible. Your volunteers get older. Your momentum dies. And your mission, it becomes a burden, a grind, a thing you carry, hoping someone else sees what you see. Now let me tell you something that might sting a little. You're not losing because your site isn't important. You're losing because you think importance is a strategy, and it's not. Importance is internal. Strategy is external. Now people won't come just because it matters to you. They'll come when they feel like it matters to them. There's a big difference. So let me destroy this myth that people don't care about history anymore. Because here's the contradiction. Over the last decade, history degree enrollment in colleges dropped more than 30%. So you might look at that and say, see, people don't care anymore. But that's where you'll be wrong. Because at the same time, platforms like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, History Channel, PBS, they've invested billions into historical content. Hamilton became a cultural phenomenon. Oppenheimer sold out in the IMAX. Streaming shows based on World War I, World War II, the Roman Empire, Middle Ages, people are consuming it like popcorn. Why? Because people still want history. They just don't want it the way you've been delivering it. And that's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. They don't want plaques. They want perspective. They don't want to be taught. They want to be moved. They don't want a lecture. They want an experience. And you've been spending all your time trying to get people to understand. But what you really need is to get people to care. And care doesn't come from facts. Care comes from story, emotion, identity, connection. And that's what the media companies figured out. That's why they're winning attention in a space you think you're supposed to own. And it's not because they're better at history. It's because they're better at delivering history in a way that sticks. So let me ask you this. If Netflix can turn the Black Plague into a trending documentary, why can't your town or your museum get 50 likes on a post about a real person who lived through it? Same subject, different strategy. Now here's the thing. Most historical organizations are operating under the wrong business model. Now let me break this down clearly. You think you're in the education business, but you're not. Education is your service. It's the vehicle. But the business you're actually in is experience. Now here's how that breaks down. The property is your product, the building, the archives, the artifacts. The service is the education, the tours, the facts, the accuracy. But the business, what drives attention, relevance, and engagement is experience. Because people don't pay attention to education. They pay attention to emotion. People show up when they feel something. People donate when they believe in something. And people share content when they connect with something. And experience is what creates that connection. So here's the shift. You need to stop thinking like a teacher and start thinking like an enthusiast ready to share an experience. You need to stop trying to prove that something happened and start trying to make someone feel like it could have happened to them. Every artifact, every exhibit, every piece of your site should answer one question. Why should I care right now? Because if you can't answer that, no one will. So let's talk about how this shows up on social media, because this is where most of you are losing attention. You've got amazing content. You've got photos and stories, letters, volunteer legacies, but you post like a public bulletin board. You describe, you list, you announce. New exhibit this weekend, Civil War artifacts, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Join us for a lecture on local agriculture through the decades. Historic home tours available by appointment. That's information. But what would happen if you reframed it? The last time this room was used, a family was praying during a bombing raid. You can stand in it this weekend. Or your great grandmother probably picked cotton right here in where our new exhibit stands. Her story's waiting inside. Or this cannon sat silent for 180 years until a 10-year-old asked our volunteer, "Did it ever kill someone?" We didn't know what to say. Now you've got a hook, a feeling, an opening. You don't need better content. You need better context. You need to stop informing and start inviting. Because the minute someone feels something, they stop scrolling. And when they stop scrolling, they start engaging. That's how relevance is built, not through noise, through resonance. So let's talk about the slow death of momentum. Because if you keep assuming that history sells itself, here's what's coming. Your volunteers will age out. Your attendance, it'll shrink. Your board will start to panic. Your funding will dry up. And you'll blame culture instead of your strategy. I've seen it over and over again. There are historical sites sitting on gold, but they can't figure out why no one's showing up to dig. It's not the subject. It's not the people. It's not the platform. It's the assumption that people will care without being invited properly. The world doesn't owe you its attention. You have to earn it. And you earn it by giving people a reason to care right now. Not because it's historical and not because it's accurate, but because it speaks to something deeper in them. And here's the beautiful part of all that. Once they're in the door, they do care about the facts. They do want to know more. And they do want the details. But that only happens if you lead with emotion and not education.